The FAA has designated airports follow an advisory circular with regard to conducting wildlife hazard mitigation and observations. This advisory circular should be reviewed before you show the demo on the wildlife observations. This is the dashboard that an airside operations manager or wildlife manager can use to see the existence of observations throughout the airfield. Here you can see we have an observation grid as well as observations about individual wildlife sightings. It's easy to use the interactive map, which also includes high-resolution imagery, a grid, and then the location of all the wildlife observations, as well as any wildlife mitigation assignments in one simple-to-use web viewer. It's easy to select individual assignments or observations by popping them up, and you can see the detailed data associated with those individual observations. I could filter by today or yesterday or any observations that occurred last week, and any of those that require mitigation, yes or no. So very simple for me to have a quick understanding of that. Also, a breakdown of the observations by species and a detailed information in the list of those species that were observed. If photographs were taken, I could even see images of the observations. In the left-hand side, you can also see the list of wildlife mitigation assignments, and those are interactive. I could then select the different types that are in progress or having been completed, and then the list of those assignments in the left-hand side. And again, detailed information about individual issues or wildlife observations appear here. Also, we summarize the number of observations by wildlife grid, easily selectable. You can see a summary of those species that appeared or were observed, including the weather and the grid number that they fell in. Those were automatically recorded. Those are not required to be input by the wildlife observer. It's captured automatically in the field app. As the field observer, I go out into the field and I have this on my tablet, so I can interact with the map on the right-hand side with my tablet and see existing observations that may have already been reported. I could just tap on an individual observation and see it. Also, there's grid numbers associated with every area in the airport. To conduct an observation, I use the left-hand side, and I could simply tap and report a wildlife strike directly through the application, and it links directly to the FAA's Wildlife Strike Report database. I would just go ahead and then quickly fill out the form first by tapping the area in the interactive map or using my GPS to locate where I reported the issue. And then if it is on the airport operations area, I would easily select yes. And then from the drop-down, I could select what area on the operations area it was the observation was taken in. You can see these lists are drop-down, so it makes data entry much quicker and easier. A comprehensive list of the species also is included, so I can select those from the drop-down. The number of species that I observed at that specific location is a drop-down as well, and then what sort of activity that is occurring. I could also include comments if necessary, and then take a photograph or maybe upload one of the wildlife I already noticed. This one requires some mitigation efforts, so there's some egrets that were recognized hanging out in a tree, and I think I'm going to have to send an email to the wildlife manager indicating that mitigation is required. So as soon as I select mitigation required, yes, they receive an email, and then that takes them back to this dashboard, and once that manager sees what's going on, they can select by the day, and today they notice that one wildlife observation in that grid with this weather requires some mitigation. So using this tool is very, very simple to receive the notification. So now I'm going to dispatch one of my workers using this tool to go do some mitigation. And those are existing issues that occurred across the airport. And this is the one that requires mitigation. And I can see the same information that was filled out by the observer is included in this pop-up. So I'm going to create a new assignment, and I'm going to assign this as a harassment located at that area across the airport. You can see that all I have to do is click on the map and then pick who I'm going to assign it to later. I'll say this is a critical or high necessity on this date and times when it is due, so we'll give the person going to rectify the issue some time to fix the issue or put the harassment device out. So I need to place a scare cannon in this area to try and ward off the birds that have been collecting in those trees. I could even upload a photograph if I need to. And then I'm going to select who it's assigned to in a moment. So I'll create the assignment. And then once that assignment has been created, then I'll pick an individual who I can assign to that mitigation. So let's go to the assignment, and now we can see who's working. So it looks like John's working right now. Mike's not working. So I'm going to assign that one issue to John, and I can see where he's located because he's signed into the app. So hopefully he's close to the assignment. And then I'll go back to my assignments tab, and then I'm going to go ahead and select that assignment and then assign that to him. So in the drop down there, I could just see that there's John, so I could quickly assign that to him. And then once I submit that assignment to him, he's going to be able to receive that assignment because he's logged into a mobile app. He's got his tablet with him. Then he'll get a notification that he needs to conduct that harassment mitigation effort. So he opens up his tablet and sees that there's that harassment assignment that he's ready. He clicks start, and he begins to conduct a survey as he's out at that area where he can navigate to, and then enter in the observation ID, what efforts he's going to respond by putting a harassment device out there, and what sort of dispersant he's going to use. And then again, use the GPS on his phone or tap on the map where he wants to put out this dispersant. He could then sign it, and then from the drop-down menu, be able to select what dispersant is used. That information gets submitted and reported back to the observation manager, and he would click finish and then would report that that assignment has been completed. So now the last step in the process would be that information is written back to the operations dashboard, and then we can also see that that assignment has been completed here, and you can see the attribute information or the details that John entered when he completed that assignment.